All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about my improbable journey to the Dolphins training camp where I received a private workout in the heart of the training camp. So it all starts back in high school. I bounced around from 3 different high schools, moved around a lot. And the last high school I went to was Gainesville High School. I was a primary wide receiver. And the school I moved to, Gainesville High School, they ran the ball a lot. Ran a wing T offense and wasn't really that beneficial for a wide receiver. So my senior year, I ended up having 14 catches, probably was like a 1-star recruit. Had a couple offers to small schools, and I chose to go to Southwestern College in Winfield, Kansas. Very small school, NAIA school. A couple of my buddies also received scholarships, so we all decided to go together. It was a big culture shock for me getting there, and it was a struggle at first for me to adapt. Got into a little bit of trouble, but ended up sticking it out. And there I was able to develop and blossom my talents and skills. Ended up becoming a 2-way starter my redshirt sophomore year, return kicks, and had a really good year. A couple seasons after that, had a couple injuries, so my stats were kind of low. I also ran track during this time, which tremendously helped me out, and then that'll come into play later on in the story. So my senior year, I had got injured in preseason, in training camp, and missed the first couple games. Had a mediocre season at receiver, and not on the radar of any scouts at all. My sophomore year, I was, but as a sophomore, you're not going to come out of the NAIA. It's not going to happen. So senior year didn't go as planned, but I got real serious. So I ran track that year, and I bulked up. I started just reading and researching on how to gain weight, how to gain muscle, how to gain explosive power. And I remember I would bring my magazines into the gym, and a couple of my teammates would laugh at me because they see me with these muscle fitness magazines. And then they stopped laughing after about 3 months when they saw how big and strong I got. And then the funny thing was they were bringing the magazines into the gym after that. So I got a kick out of that. But I trained relentlessly. It was basically religiously, I was training three times a day, and I was eating like crazy, eating 6-7 times a day, protein shakes, eggs in the morning. Every 2.5 to 3 hours I was consuming food, and got really big, got really fast. And then I signed up for a combine. It was a scout combine down in Texas, and I just got into the law of attraction. Really started meditating on where I wanted to see myself and my goals and how I wanted to manifest it. And I just kept visualizing myself doing really well at this combine. And I had no idea how I was going to do. I was like nervous about it. And I never really got officially tested during these times. I know I got really strong and really fast though. So registered for the combine. Now at this time I'm still running track. And I was in 100 meters, and I made it to the last track meet of the season. I ran the 100 meters at our KCAC championship, which was held at our school, and I ended up winning my heat, so I got moved on to the finals. And during that time in the finals, there was a couple false starts, and I'm really big at this time, and it was really cold outside. And by the third time we ended up going again, I ended up popping my hamstring. Now, meanwhile, I got the combine in 3 weeks. I got the championships in the 100-meter dash, which I qualified for, nationals, in 2 weeks. So my mind's just going crazy. I'm like, man, like, how could this happen at this time when I got such important events coming up before me? So what I did was I kept training. I kept believing. I kept having faith. The coaches tested me out on track to see if I can run and make it to nationals the week later, and I wasn't ready to go. My hamstring was still done. It was still too tender. It was too risky. I couldn't get full power off of it. So I just went back to the weight room. I manifested. I started praying and meditating on it, and I went down to Texas to go to that combine. And I was real scared, real nervous. And I was wondering if I was going to pop my hamstring again or not. But things actually went really well, and it was probably about 300 to 400 people at this combine. I ended up running the fastest 40 time electronic there, which was a 4:48. So I was able to see that and manifest that through hard work and dedication behind it and having a leap of faith. So what that led to me getting picked up by AFL2 team called the Oklahoma City Yard Dogs, and it's like a development league for the Arena Football League at the time. And ended up going down to Oklahoma City and playing there because I sent my game film out. I sent my statistics. They were able to look up my combine statistics, where I weighed 182 pounds. I hit 225 pounds on the bench press for 12 reps. I had a 36-inch vertical jump. And yeah, I had some pretty good numbers. So they brought me into camp, and actually I go to a tryout first. During that tryout, I was competing with a guy from the University of Oklahoma. And me coming from a small school, I had this thought in my head, like, you know, this is a David versus Goliath type of story. That this guy's just gonna crush me in this workout because he's at the University of Oklahoma. He's got all these coaches behind him. You know, they feed their players supplements, top line facilities. Like there's no way I'm gonna stand a chance. So that was like looming in the back of my head. But I kept training for this day, and ended up going head to head with the guy, and I ended up beating him out. And when I found that out, when I figured that out, I learned that it's not about where you come from, but it's about how you come, how you bring it. So this was one of my biggest victories starting off, and then things just started to like compound on from here. Ended up becoming a starter on this team. Dislocated my elbow in training camp, so another adversity against me. Had to heal for like 4 to 5 weeks. Ended up healing, coming back, became a starter. After that, things were going well, and then I got into some trouble on the team. So I got suspended for a couple games. But when I got suspended, I decided just to go back to Florida, where I'm from. And because during that time, like, you get suspended, you get kicked out of the housing. And that's how it works. So I just had to leave. And so I left, went down to Florida, and just was like contemplating my life and trying to figure things out, how I'm going to move on next from here. But I always knew and dreamed, and still had this dream and thought in my head that I could play in the NFL, or I could at least play in the Arena Football League. It was I never gave up faith, even though I had all these things that were occurring against me. So went down to Florida, just was training, man. And training a lot, trained with one of my buddies in Texas for a couple weeks, came back, and I was sending out my videos, my highlight tapes to different arena football teams. Finally got one call back from the Cleveland Gladiators, and they said they wanted to sign me. So this was a blessing. I got one call back. I went to a couple tryouts. I did well, but the coaches didn't want me there. Ended up going to Cleveland on a leap of faith. I remember I had called my dad up to get some money to get the plane ticket because I wasn't even working at this time. So if I got cut, I'm like, I don't even know how I'm gonna get home. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna fly home, because if I get cut, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So ended up going into Cleveland and having a really good training camp and becoming a starter on this team. This is in 2010. So in 2010, I'm still like relatively a rookie, because this is the Arena 1 now, Cleveland Gladiators. And so I ended up really developing my skills here and honing them. And I ended up having a really good year, but it was the little things that I did that really made it a big year for me. And some of the little things were staying after practice, running sprints, working on my weaknesses and making my weaknesses become my strengths. Also during this time, I was also praying a lot, meditating, reading my Bible, doing these things and keeping my mind sharp and focused. I would do weight room training, pool training after practice. But I ran into another problem, and at this time, I was dealing with a lot of adversity from some of my teammates. You can call it like rookie hazing and stuff like that, but I don't know why this happened, but it may be from some of the success that I had. I don't know, but it began to really get to me. And I remember being in my room, and at night I would be like so upset, so furious, But in a way, this really helped me out because I was able to turn that negative energy into a positive, because I would use that out on the field and I would just take it out on my opponents. So I never took it out on any of my teammates, although I probably should have on some of the occasions. But I ended up taking it out on the field and destroying most of my opponents. And this was ultimately led to me being scouted by the NFL. So I remember one game I just went off. Like, it was on TV. We were in Iowa, and ended up having a fumble recovery for a touchdown, scored a touchdown that way, took a kickoff to the house, scored a touchdown there, and then I had the game-sealing interception. And that put me on the map for NFL teams. One day, it's towards the end of the season, probably like 2 weeks left, and I walk into the locker room in the morning, and I run into one of my teammates, and he goes up to me. Now, meanwhile, let me throw this in there really quick. I'm in room 305. That was my room. We stayed in a studio suites in Ohio, so everybody had their own suite, right? And I'm big on synchronicities and things matching up. And I'm in room 305. And if anybody knows, that's Miami's area code. So I walk in, one of my teammates, his name was Joe. We call him Tecmo Joe, Joe Fantasy. And he goes to me, "Hey man, I heard the Dolphins are scouting you." I thought he was lying, so I'm going along with it. I'm like, all right, yeah, they scout me. So I'm thinking he's lying. So I proceed and go to my locker, and I start getting dressed. And then another teammate comes up to me. It's like, "Hey man, I heard the Dolphins are looking at you." So now I'm like, what? I'm like, how do these guys know? And I don't even know, And he said, "Yeah." So I heard they called up the trainer and asked about you. So I was like, "What?" So I went to go see the trainer, and I asked him, I'm like, "So the Dolphins call you?" And he's like, "Yeah, they called. They asked, have you been injured? How often are you in the training room?" And at this time, I'm religiously staying away from the training room because I don't like the training room. I've been there too many times. Like, it's just not atmosphere for me so I would hardly ever be in the training room. And so he said, "Yeah, but that was about it. That's all they asked." So I was like, all right, so on the radar. Meanwhile, I remember I had been praying and manifesting on going to the NFL. That was always been my dream from a kid. I watched so much football as a kid, and I always saw myself being in the NFL. So got that heads up, and then after the season ends, I hear nothing from nobody. And here's the mistake that I make, and I always reiterate this back to my athletes. Like, you always have to stay ready, no matter what. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready, you know what I'm saying? And luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. So if you're prepared, you can make some big things happen. At this time, I had been praying for this, and I stopped training. Right after the season was over with. I have no clue why I stopped. I guess I just like didn't believe it, or kind of like lost faith. And which is like, that's one of the ultimate sins. When you ask for something, you pray to God and you manifest. That's one of the ultimate sins for you to give up and stop faith. So what I did was I was sitting home, and I remember when I saw the phone number pop up on my screen, I knew immediately who it was. I knew it was the NFL, even though it was some like Montana number. I saw the phone. I picked up, my adrenaline's rushing. I immediately knew who it was before I even talked to the guy. And it ended up being a scout named Brian Gaines. He was a scout for the Miami Dolphins at this time. And he asked me a couple questions on the phone. He says, "Hey, is this Davion Mitchell?" I'm like, "Yes, this is me." He scanned me for about 30 minutes on the phone, asking me about all my previous schooling, all my previous seasons, previous injuries. And at the end of the conversation, he asked me about, was I in shape? He asked me how in shape I was. And I didn't want to tell him no, that I wasn't in shape. But at the same time, I'm like, man, should I not, And so I told him I'm in pretty good shape right now, which I haven't been working out for 3 weeks. And anybody knows about football training, or any type of strength training or speed training, like you miss 2 weeks in the gym, like you lose a whole lot. So at the end of the conversation, he goes, "Well, we could either call you back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a couple months, or we may not even call you back at all. Let me talk to my GM." So I'm happy and I'm thrilled, but I got all these emotions running through me, right? Immediately go to the gym that night. So eat dinner, come back home, I go to sleep. As soon as I lay down, I see my phone ring, and it's a Miami area code this time. So a little old lady answers the phone and says, "Is this Davion?" I'm like, "Yes, it's me." She's like, "Hi, this is so-and-so from the Miami Dolphins. Your flight leaves at 6 a.m. in the morning." So at this time, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know I'm not in shape, but I'm happy at the same time. I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna go. Have no clue. So I can't sleep that whole night. Try to eat some food, I can't eat. So I'm just too nervous at this time. I get picked up at the airport in Miami. So they fly me first class down there, get picked up in the airport, and then I gotta go pick up the guy I'm competing against for the job. This guy had been a guy who was a practice squad player. He'd been bouncing around from different teams, different NFL teams. And it was just me one-on-one basically for this workout. It was one of the hardest things I've ever did in my life. I don't care how in shape you would be for this workout, like they tried to kill you, period. And so we flew to actually Fort Lauderdale because that's where their practice facility is at. And I remember it was like dead summertime. And it was so hot outside that they made us go inside. And we went inside to what's called the bubble. And when you're in the bubble, like there's no fan, no AC in there. So basically, I call it the oven because that's what it felt like. And you know, they got these little black rubber pellets that's on side the artificial grass, and that's all you can smell because it's so hot in there. So I'm already thinking in my mind, man, I don't know how this is gonna go. Probably not gonna go well, but I'm gonna give 1,000%. So we ended up running. We do a warm up and then running some 40s, do some short shuttle. You know, you take your shirt off, you stand there, and there's a bunch of scouts and a bunch of coaches there, and that's it. And you and this other guy, and then we start running our drills. Now these are some of the hardest drills I've ever ran in my life because it's not like regular drills, fast paced. You know, you go, they make you backpedal 10 yards, shuffle 5, backpedal 10, shuffle 5, sprint up, and then they throw the ball as far as they can. You just got to run fast as you can. You got to high point the ball and then jog it back. And then while you're jogging back, he threw the ball like 50 yards. The other person is going. So by the time you get back, like you're up again. And then they ran probably about like 15 to 20 of those back to back to back. You know, you don't get no rest. And basically they're just trying to see how your conditioning is. It got so bad that I actually caught the chills in there, and I felt like I was about to pass out. And I felt like if he'd have ran one more drill, I would have passed out. And then the coach, I saw one of the coaches look over and he did this. He's like, cut it. And had he not, I probably would have passed out right there. But I told myself I may not ever get this opportunity again. So, you know, let me make it happen. If I black out here, forget it. So, you know. So at the end, the scout Brian comes up to us. So he goes, take a shower and then we'll eat. And then you guys are gonna take your physicals. So when he said that, I'm like, wow, maybe I did better than I thought I was, because it got to the point where I could barely jump off the ground. That's how hard it was. Like I probably had like a 2-3 inch vertical, like when you're supposed to high point the ball. So I'm like, man, maybe I made it after all. Get inside, we take showers, and then we go eat. And me and the guy I'm competing with, we're conversing. And then Brian comes back into the cafeteria, and he sends the other guy first to go get his physical. And then while the other guy's gone, he talks to me, and the first thing he says is, "Why aren't you in shape?" And my heart just dropped right there, because I was like, damn. I'm like, you know, I said, I don't have no excuse. You know, I really don't have any excuse. He was like, well, you got the talent to play in the NFL, but you have to put the work in behind it. You should be in shape. There's no excuse. And I was like, yeah, you know, you're right. He's like, well, you know, you can do it. You know, you just got to keep working hard. And they ended up sending me home that same day. So I was in Fort Lauderdale for probably like 3 hours, maybe max. So yeah, and that's something I always reiterate to all my athletes, man. You always got to stay ready, you know, and you'll never have to get ready. You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to go through this, because I could have easily made that NFL team had I kept working out like I was during the season and continued that after the season, because I did have some notification that I was being scouted by the Dolphins, so I should have kept that up. You know, I manifested all this from the beginning, and then I stopped at the end. And sometimes that's when your dreams will become true. As soon as you give up, like all you gotta do is keep pushing, and you can make it to that next level. You know, you can see your dream become a reality. So yeah, that's my improbable journey to the NFL, and hope this video motivates and inspires you, helps you be able to make your dreams become a reality and manifest what you want, the life that you want and desire. All right, guys, take care. Peace.